How are you all? I hope you are well. I am also well. And good to see you. You already know that about my mission, that is, I want to improve my English language. So, following that, this is the second video of my English language mission. Today, I will introduce with you very interesting story. I think you will love this story. Uh, I think you already heard the name of Sherlock Holmes. Yes. Do you know the name of the first story of Sherlock Holmes? Okay, no problem. The first story of the first story of Sherlock Holmes. The name is A Study in Scotland. Okay, it is very interesting actually. So I read in front of you the first story of Sherlock Holmes because I love this story and I think you also love this story. The first story is too big, so following that, I we will divide this story in three parts. Today I introduced with you the first segment of the story. So let's get started. In the year 1878, I took my degree of Doctor of Medicine of the University of London and proceeded to neatly to go through the course prescribed of surgeons in army. Having completed my studies there, I was duly attached to the 5th Northumberland Fusiliers as assistant surgeons. The regiment was stationed in India at the time, and before I could join it, the Second Afghan War had broken out. On landing at Bombay, I learned that my crops had advanced through the passes and was already deep in the enemy's country. I followed, however, with many other officers who are in the same situations as myself, and succeeded in reaching Kandahar in safety, where I found my regiment and at once entered upon new duties. The campaign brought honors and promotion to many, but for me it had nothing to misfortune and disaster. The campaign brought honors and promotion to many, but for me it had nothing but misfortune and disaster. I was removed from my bridge and attached to the Berkshire, with whom I served the fatal battle of my want. There I was struck on the shoulder by a Shrezil bullet, which stirred the bone and grazed the subclavian artery. I should have fallen into the hands of murderers, Ghazis, had it not been for devotion and courage shown by my orderly, who threw me across a pig house and succeeded in bringing me safely to the British lines. Okay, I think you enjoy the story. So next portion is worn with pain and weak from the prolonged hardship which I had undergone. I was removed with the great train with wounded sufferers to the base hospital at Peshawar. Here I rallied and had already improved so far as to be able to walk about the wards, and even to bask a little upon a veranda. When I was struck down by enteric fever, that curse of our Indian possessions. For months of my life was dissipate of, and when at least I came myself and became convalescent, I was so weak and emaciated that a medical board determined that not a day should be lost in sending me to England. I was dispatched accordingly to the Tudorship Hunters and landed a month later to Portsmouth Jetty with my health irritably ruined, but with permission from the paternal government to spend the next 9 months in attempting to improve it. The third portion of the story, that is, I had neither kit nor kin. Okay, do you know the meaning of neither kit nor kin? It's see in Bengali, like I have no relatives besides me. So back to the story. Here Watson said that I had neither kit nor kin in England, and was therefore as free as air, or as free as an income or 11 shillings and sixpence a day will permit a man to be. Under such circumstances, I naturally gravitated to London, that great cesspool into which all the loungers and idlers of empire are retained. There I stayed for some time at a private hotel in Strand, leading a comfortless, meaningless existence and expending such money as I had considerably more freely than I ought. So alarming did the state of my finances become that I soon realized that I must either leave to metropolis and rusticate somewhere in the country, or that I must make a complete alterations in my style of living. Choosing the latter alternative, I began by making up my mind to leave the hotel and to take up my quarters in some less pretentious and less expensive domicile domicile and less expensive domicile. On the very day that I had come to this conclusion, I was standing at the Criterion bar, when someone tapped me on the shoulder, and turning round, I recognized young Stamford, who had been a dresser under me at Bart's. The sight of my friendly face in the great wild the sight of my friendly face in the great wilderness in London is a pleasant thing needed to a lonely man. In old days, Stamford had never been a particular corner of mine, but now I hailed him with enthusiasm, and he is in turn appeared to be elicited to see me. In the exuberance of my joy, I asked him to lunch with me at the Holborn and we started off together in handsome. Whatever have you been doing with yourself, Watson? He asked in undisguised wonder as we rattled through the crowded London streets. You are as thin as lead and as bone as a nut. Oh, it is too difficult for me. Okay, no problem. Let's go in front. I gave him a short sketch of my adventures and had hardly concluded it by the time that we reached our destination. Poor devil, he said commiseratingly after he had listened my misfortune. What are you up to now? Looking for Ludgins. Looking for Ludgins, I answered, trying to solve the problem as to whether it is possible to get comfort rooms at a reasonable price. Okay, that's a stranger thing. That's a stranger thing, remarked my companion. You are the second man today that has used that expression to me. And who was the first? I asked. A fellow who is working at the chemical laboratory up at the hospital. He was benoming himself this morning because he could not get someone to go house with him in some nice rooms he had found, and which were too much for his purse. By Jove, I cried, if he really wants someone to share the rooms and the expenses, I am very man for him. I am the very man for him. I should prefer having the partner to being alone. So, there is the first story of Sherlock Holmes, a story in Scotland by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And actually, this is the first part. After that, I will try to read in front of you the second and the last part. I know I struggle a lot in my reading because the words of the detective stories is very difficult for me. I'm not good at English, so I'm sorry for that. But I'll try to improve my bad situations or bad times of English day by day. I think you stay with me for I think you will stay with me into the journey. One day we'll improve together, inshallah. After that, stay good, keep flying, and Allah Hafiz.